Hi, and welcome to Therapy Explained. My name is Denise Cantor, and I'm the therapist of color for people of color. Today, we're going to be talking about coping skills and how they can help you manage stressful and potentially triggering situations. Before we get to that though, I want to share with you a few tips that can help you develop healthy coping skills that you can draw from to begin with. My first tip is to go back to the things that you used to enjoy when you were a child. Think back to the activities that you liked on the weekends, perhaps after school with your friends, and if you didn't get an opportunity to enjoy too many fun things as a child, perhaps you can take a look at things that you would have wanted to do but didn't really get the chance to. The reason for this is because at the heart of it, a coping skill is something that you do just because it's fun. Not because it's going to make you money, or because it's productive, or because someone told you to do it, but simply because it brings joy into your life. That is the kind of coping skill that I want you to adopt from now on. And so going back to the things that you enjoyed as a child is a pretty good place to start. From there, I encourage you to try to follow two of my guidelines. The first one is it should not be illegal, and the second, it shouldn't hurt you or anyone else in any way. Now, I know that at the start this seems pretty obvious, but what I mean by this is we want to try to stay away from things like alcohol or food or our phones, because even though they might seem in the short run as something helpful, because in the moment it helps us disconnect from something that's overwhelming, in the long run, it's not sustainable. It causes us more harm than good if we're not allowing ourselves a moment of peace, of calm, and of reflection, and instead our go-to is to disconnect from something. Now, I'm not saying that these behaviors are all bad or all good, but instead that when we're thinking about coping skills in particular, that we want to pick things that are going to make our lives easier and happier and lighter and not cause us more trouble or more work down the line. My other tip is to have a long list of coping skills that you're using in your life. They can range from more engaging activities like playing a sport, dancing, going to the gym, and less intensive activities like perhaps meditation, stretching your body, or just deep breathing. The reason why you want to have a list of coping skills with an array and different levels of engagement is because depending on the day that you're having, you might not have the motivation or energy to engage in the more intensive activities, and so you can draw from the less intensive activities to help you during the day. Which brings me to my next tip. You should be doing a coping skill every day. Now, I don't mean that I want you to go to the gym every day or that I expect you to be doing yoga or any sort of particular activity every single day. If you can and you find it helpful, great, keep doing it. But if you're having a hard time keeping up with one thing, it's because you shouldn't. It's okay to switch back and forth amongst all of your coping skills. Remember, you want to have a list of these coping skills, different things that you can draw from depending on your day. And so perhaps your week looks like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you go to the gym. Tuesdays, Thursdays, perhaps you meditate. Saturdays, you go for a hike. And Sundays, to keep it light, maybe you just do some journaling. So try to pick different activities, but what's important is that you're doing something every day that makes the day lighter, that allows you for some sort of calm moment in your day that is just for you. I know that if you're particularly stressed and overwhelmed, it's hard to think of adding another thing to your day, but this is when I encourage you to take an inventory of how you're spending your time, and perhaps you can carve out 14 minutes or 10 minutes out of your day to do something that is just for you, not for anybody else, but for you, to allow you to be more present for the people that you love. So I encourage you to start from your childhood. That could be a good fountain for different ideas of activities to do. You also want to have a whole list of coping skills that you can draw from that are not illegal and that are not hurting you or anyone else. And you want them to have different levels of engagement so that you can pick from them every day. Now, all of this is going to help you when you're triggered and stressed, because the idea is that we can help you maintain a more sustainable level of stress throughout your life. For example, let's say that this is your cap for stress, and you're usually working at this level because you have a lot going on. When something happens that's triggering or stressful, it is way easier for you to feel overwhelmed and triggered because you don't have too much of a buffer here. You're constantly working very, very close to what your cap is of stress. But if you're engaging in something every day that is helpful, that helps you feel calmer and less stressed, then your level of stress is going to be lowered and is going to be a lot more sustainable, so that in the future, when something happens, you're more capable of managing it as it's happening, so you can bring it back down when needed. But when it's high up, you can stop and take care of yourself and handle more than you normally would. So this is why I encourage you to engage in something every day. The benefits of another benefit of engaging in this every day is that you'll also teach your body how to engage in these coping skills. Your body will recognize it and find it easier to transition into your coping skills when it's triggered than if you hadn't really engaged in these coping skills consistently. When you're triggered and stressed and you try to draw from a coping skill, try to take a deep breath or go for a walk or meditate, but you haven't really done it consistently enough, your body is not going to really recognize it, and it's going to fight it because it doesn't know it. But if it's something you've been doing consistently, your body will say, oh yeah, I remember doing this. It feels good when I do this. And so I'm going to now transition into that space and that activity that is going to help me feel better. So those are the two key benefits to being able to maintain your coping skills every day and being consistent in it, so that when you are triggered, first of all, you're not triggered as easily and as quickly. And second of all, when you are triggered, it's going to be easier for you to be able to help your body regulate and come back to homeostasis. But I also understand that life happens and things are out of control. And even if you're able to maintain your level of stress pretty consistently low, things are going to happen. For example, like 2020, where it's thing after thing after thing, at some point we are going to reach that cap and feel overwhelmed and feel triggered. So what do we do in those moments? This is when we use our coping skills and our coping tools. Again, the reason for having a practice of coping skills that is daily is so that you can draw from them immediately and easily. But also remember that coping skills are not meant to completely numb you out and stop the emotion. The idea of coping skills is to help you feel more in control and more leveled out as you're having your emotions. The sadness, the fear, the heartbreak, the anxiety might still be there, but with the help of coping skills, it won't feel overwhelming. It won't be to the point where you can't function, where you can't do what you're supposed to be doing or what you want to be doing, but instead, it will help you get enough energy and feel well enough to do what you want to do. So I hope that this video has helped you get started on developing a healthy habit of coping skills that you're using every day that include an array of coping skills. So quickly to review, I would like for you to start at your childhood if you don't really have that list yet. Second, I would like for you to follow these guidelines. Again, think critically of the coping skills that you want to add to your list. They might not immediately seem like they're harmful for you or other people, but just take a minute and think, if I continue to do this, in the long run, what's that going to look like? Third, remember to have a list of coping skills. This could be a written coping skills list, or it can be just in your head. But if you have a written list, it's something you can actually physically draw from and look at when you're feeling overwhelmed or you're not really quite sure what to do. And then lastly, remember that you want to practice these coping skills every day. Having them as habits, having them in your repertoire of things that you can do is extremely important when you're triggered. I know we tend to think of coping skills as in the moment I'm triggered, this is what I do, but the idea for that is that the reason that you're able to engage in them when you're triggered is because you've done them before, because your body recognizes them and is familiar with them. So have a habit, a lifestyle of using coping skills every day to help yourself so that when you are triggered, it is much easier for you to manage it. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe if you want more videos on all things mental health, and follow me on Instagram at TOC Therapy, because after all, I am the therapist of color, and you can access your cheat sheet through my Instagram, which summarizes everything that we talked about today. If you think someone else could benefit from today's video or my posts on Instagram, make sure to recommend me and to share me on social media. I hope to see you again in the next video.